Men and their muscles. Okay, we know we love our men looking buff. We know that men love looking buff, but the side effects from using anabolic steroids are significant, okay? And here is my dear friend and my colleague, Dr. Raquel Hammonds, who is a naturopathic MD and an MPH for this podcast episode, videocast episode, because this is so bad on men's reproductive health, Dr. Raquel.
It is. I feel like one of the most common things I hear from men all the time is like, do you even lift, bro? That's like the thing. It's like all men want to have like this little, this look, they want to be all like buff and all the things like that. But what can really happen is very detrimental for you and your partner.
Yeah, but we can't get him to do it. I mean, look, we hear about this all the time, like athletes that they admire, right? They have, they do this a lot, and it can be drug abuse. It's not, so there's also, I think that trying to understand synthetic testosterone, which can damage fertility, versus anabolic steroids. So, some men do need synthetic testosterone.
Exactly.
In the short term, we know that. So let's actually differentiate between the two right off the bat so we understand anabolic steroids, define what a steroid is and why this, if you abuse it, if you're using it for the wrong reasons, it can be so detrimental.
Yes. And I love that you did that. I love that you broke it down because it's a very distinct difference. So the word steroid is just a word used to describe a molecular structure. So we have different types of steroids in our bodies. We have our corticosteroids, which are actually like our cortisol that we know about. But when we're talking about men, we're talking about our sex steroids. This is like our testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. And so what happens is a lot of men use these anabolic steroids, which are it's a synthetic form of androgens, more specifically testosterone. And so what happens is this is literally mimicking the testosterone in your body. And so the way it affects the male reproductive system is that when you're taking these things in excess, it sends a message to your brain to say, we're making too much. I'm making too much testosterone, so let me just completely stop. So your body, it slows the production of testosterone and then it comes to a full halt.
Wow.
So in office on sperm analysis, we see steroid abuse as testicular failure.
Oh my gosh.
So if you don't tell your doctor the truth, they could literally think that you have testicular failure because you literally have like azoospermia or no sperm at all.
Okay, we could do a whole episode on telling your doctor the truth. Yes. That could be a whole thing in and of itself.
Yes.
Tell your doctor the truth. But I mean, this is really such a huge deal because I can imagine couples, if they're not honest about that, also hearing those words, testicular failure, and what that might mean psychologically to your relationship, to your hopes, to your dreams. What are the long-term implications too? I mean, is this something that leads to what's commonly known as man boobs?
Well,
not an awesome term, but can it?
It absolutely can. They call it like feminization, but it 1,000,000% can lead to gynecomastia or male boobs. That's one of the very real things that happen. And another thing that you probably notice is that men who take this, especially too early, they look very kind of short and stocky. It's almost like they didn't finish development, and that's because it slows growth formation. So you kind of grow out instead of up because anabolic steroids have that effect.
Okay, got it. Now, whenever I think about men who are like want to bulk up for, weight training or something, who are taking steroids, I think about injectables all the time. Are there multiple ways that people can abuse anabolic steroids? Yeah,
so a lot of ways that men take them, especially in the gym or even in sports, is they take it in either tablet or liquid form. So a lot of times they'll call it like stackers or gear juice or gym candy is very popular. And that's going to be more of the tablet form. So the tablet and liquids is very easy to use in a gym locker room or before a big game. So it's very common because you have to think of how it works. It's emulating testosterone, so it's making you improve your endurance. It's decreasing fatigue. It's improving your performance. So for men, it's like, why wouldn't I take this? Like, it's going to make me better, but it makes you feel better. but in the long term, it's really affecting your future family.
I remember going through cancer treatment, and steroids were commonly prescribed to help mitigate side effects of chemo.
Yep.
I remember talking to my girlfriends about roid rage and how, we didn't want to take it because we experienced ourselves to be very quick to anger. And
Yep.
a friend of mine even talked about this roid rage incident. She was like, it was when I was on steroids,
Yeah.
and it kind of became this big joke in like our young adult cancer community, how none of us wanted to take the steroids.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, do you see that a lot too, with these men who are quote unquote doping? Is that also kind of maybe a common red flag is rage?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rage is a very, very common side effect of testosterone or synthetic testosterone abuse, and so what happens is a lot of time in these men, they have the very common symptoms. It's not even like something that you have to guess. You kind of know because they have severe acne. They have these formation of breast, and they are quick to anger, and they call it like manic episodes or roid rage. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Now, if talk to us about there's sort of that short term, and I know you mentioned testicular failure, but certainly the testicles shrinking can be part of this, right? Because if you block that production of testosterone and then you're stopping the stem cells from doing their job, then your volume is going to shrink the size of your testicles, right?
Exactly.
Is that permanent? Can it go back?
It can go back. So that's the upside to all of this this horrible
this is dark and scary. Yeah. Don't take steroids.
Sorry, man. Sorry. No, actually the upside to this is that when men stop the use of steroids or synthetic steroids or synthetic testosterone, it takes about 3 months and their sperm is completely back to normal.
Oh, so that's actually okay. But here's something that I'm picturing all these men thinking about. It's like, oh, I can do it for 3 months, but then they really enjoy it, right? And then they want to do it for 3 more months.
Yeah.
So is there a safe length of time? Is there, or is it really just that the dosage is so high when they're sort of self-medicating in this, kind of gym format that there's just no safe way to do it? Outside of being medically treated?
So the research I saw, which I pulled from Cleveland Clinic, they actually saw that most often when they do a sperm analysis and they have the men tell the truth, stop taking it, and then they test again in 3 months, it's back to normal. However, if there has been like a prolonged use, then it takes even longer for the normals to resolve. But the really cool and annoying thing about fertility and male fertility is that their sperm literally just it produces a fresh batch. So they have that luxury of being able to literally, if they remove those barriers, produce fresh sperm. Yeah,
it's frustrating.
It is. I say it all the time, and women always, like all of my female patients, they laugh because they're like, "That's so annoying to think."
It is, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it just. I mean, we don't get to see that immediate impact of lifestyle changes we can make. We cannot know the quality of our eggs until we go to use them.
Yep.
Plain and simple. We just don't have a way to look under a microscope just to look at the eggs to see. Now, there are some other things though outside of fertility though that men are at risk for using anabolic steroids, like liver problems and kidney problems. And the one at the top of mind that is such concerning to me right now is blood clots, given the ongoing COVID pandemic and the tie with blood clots.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's a major one. Blood clots. And what happens a lot, I'm so glad you mentioned the liver problems. Men will literally develop jaundice, or like the yellowing of your eyes.
Oh, wow.
And that's literally from just taking these steroids, taking them and abusing them. Your eyes will start to yellow, which is a sign that you are experiencing some type of liver problems. And you don't want to do that just thinking about your physical appearance. It's just not worth it.
It's so not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just not. Now, we certainly hear of men that don't tell their partners about the steroid use, especially when infertility becomes an issue. And of course, that's a very difficult conversation. I don't want it to be my fault.
Yep.
Whether you're gay or straight, that this is the time to tell the truth, because the faster that you know the truth, the faster that, you know, you can be on the right path. I think what I'd like to understand though is, when is it medically appropriate for you to have to recommend, you know, an appropriate dose of testosterone to treat, you know, certain issues? And I mean, I can think of some oncofertility examples, but I want to understand, there are some times where it's clinically relevant for you to prescribe testosterone to a man.
Yeah, so that's most often in hypogonadism. And that's when men might have had a birth defect, or it could have been developed over time. But most often that's when testosterone is prescribed. It's when men are displaying hypogonadism, and they do that to help their testicles better develop.
Got it.
Right. So in that case, you have to think about it. I always think of things in like a pathway. So in this case, when these men do have hypogonadism, their brain is not sending enough testosterone. So you give testosterone to help, you know, improve the production. But when you already have sufficient amounts,
Right,
you kind of disrupt that pathway and your body stops completely.
got it. I do remember, in particular, a dear friend of mine who had not one, but 2 stem cell transplants to treat his type of cancer. So he was already left completely sterile, you know, with, and so in that case, you know, his doctor prescribed testosterone so that he could have the synthetic form and, you know, and still have a sex drive and still have, you know, mental health, right? Because there's such an impact to one's mental health. I mean, that kind of happens as our estrogen declines with age too, right? Is the tie into our mental mood. But I think the key is that doping on your own can be incredibly addictive and just, you know, rooted with so many different health risks. Absolutely. And if you're actively trying to conceive, we just want to send a really strong message. And if you're a partner who suspects your loved one is doping, you know, please call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. We will post the helpline. We'll go ahead and put it on a graphic as well, but it's 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-HELP. This is, you know, not something to be taken lightly. The muscle is just not worth it. Just lift weights and eat a lot of protein. You know, exactly. It's just not worth it, right? So exactly. Dr. Raquel, as always, thank you so much for joining us. This has been your Fertility Tip Tuesday. We always love being with you. And if you have questions or comments, please, you know, put them below. We're constantly checking to see what feedback that you have, and hopefully you'll like or subscribe or share so that we can spread the word. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.